Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Miss Coffee here, and today we are doing our Wip N Chat. So get out whatever that is for you and work along with me. If you don't know what a WIP is, WIP stands for work in progress. So again, whatever that is for you, go ahead and pull that out, work along with me as I keep you company and tell you some stories from the coffee house shenanigans. I know how much you love them. So with that said, we're going to get ahead and get started. I'm going to tell you some of the tools I'm using because I'm pretty sure you're looking at my pen like, good God, what size is that multi-placer? Now, the lovely folks over at Everlasting Tips were ever so kind to send me out this beautiful, glorious, just 15 placer in a metal tip. Now, you guys know I don't usually get down with metal tips. I haven't done my nails again yet either. I don't know what's going on with my life. We'll get it together one day. Today ain't that day. But they sent me this 15 placer. Now, you guys know my favorite placer for diamond paintings is a 15 placer, and there wasn't one for metal tips. But of course, the folks over at Everlasting Tips saw that as a challenge, and challenge accepted. And they sent me out this to test, so I am testing it out. So far, I've gotten this section of my diamond painting done this morning with it, and I absolutely love it. So, with that said, I hope you guys had a wonderful, wonderful weekend. As you can tell, I am hype this week, okay? I am hype. Why? No reason. Let's talk about some coffee house shenanigans. Now, as you guys know, my kids were out for spring break this past week, so they went back to school today. Orion was a little concerned about going back to school today, mostly because he has trouble sleeping. He has insomnia. A little bit of insomnia, and I think it just stems from him being overstimulated because of the video games. But we try to make sure he's off his video games like an hour or so before. Hold on, I got something stuck in there. Hold on a second. All right, sorry about that. I had a little piece of something stuck in my pen. But we try to make sure he's off his video games like an hour or so before he has to go to bed. He sits and reads a book in his room quietly, and then he dozes off to sleep. Now, he has been sleeping a lot better because I got him a Scentsy air purifier. It's something that we've always wanted to get for his room, but for some reason we never got it. I don't know why. Like, I think we just kept, like, you ever have one of those purchases that you know you need to make, but you keep forgetting to make it? That was one of them. I don't know how I would forget to make that, seeing as how all I talk about is this poor kid's allergies. But we would never remember to get one. So I finally got him one. And the one that I got him, like, has, like, fragrance stuff that, like, it comes with, you can put pods in it. And so the Scentsy pods that he chose was French lavender or something, which, of course, lavender is supposed to be like a calming scent. And for him, it causes narcolepsy. Like, he just goes in his room and falls down on the floor like a fly. Like, he's just, like, right on the floor. So he's like, you know, he's scared that he's going to have trouble sleeping. Now, take it. This is the same kid who slept until 2 o'clock on Saturday. No, it wasn't Saturday. Yeah, it was. He slept until 2 o'clock on Saturday, like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Wakes up in a panic. He's like, I slept until 2. And I'm sitting here, like, making samples, okay? And I'm like, so? Like, I don't know why Orion thinks that everything he does is going to get him in trouble. Like, he's in a constant state of panic. Now, Orion doesn't normally get in trouble. The most he gets in trouble for is agitating his sister, which, of course, they're going to do that to each other. But he doesn't really get in trouble for stuff. And I don't know why he would think he would get in trouble for sleeping, especially seeing as how I had only woken up a few hours before him. Maggie woke up, like, right after we slept in that entire week. Like, the best part of the kids not having to go to school is being able to sleep in and not having to get up super early. So I was like, what are you all frantic for? And he's like, I just didn't want to be in trouble for sleep. I'm like, you were sleeping. That's like me being like, stop breathing. You're going to get in trouble if you breathe. I'm like, dude, you can sleep. Okay. And I'm like, did you have a bad dream or something? Yeah, I had a dream I got in trouble. I'm like, what are you getting in trouble for? I don't know. Something. And I'm like, okay. Again, now take it. Orion rarely ever gets in trouble. So it's like he's expecting to get in trouble because he doesn't get in trouble. I don't freaking know what's wrong with that kid. Anyways. And then he wakes up and he's like, can I? Because I think the night before we had pizza. He asked, could he have pizza? Why did this kid scarf down whole half of a pizza and then go back upstairs and go back to sleep? I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. Are you in college? Come to find out, this entire time that he's been home for spring break, I thought he was up there doing like little kid stuff, like playing video games and whatnot. And whenever I would go up there, he was at his computer. So I just assumed that's what he's doing. So the kids have this game that they play at school. And what is it? Oh my gosh, I can't think of the name of it. I've asked you guys about this game before. I don't know what... Prodigy. There it is. They have this game at school that they play called Prodigy. And it teaches them like math and reading skills and all this fun stuff. I'm up here thinking this kid is just spending way too much time having fun on video games. He has a VR headset up there. I'm thinking this kid's up there living his best life. Why is this kid in a study session with his friends doing math problems? That's what he's been spending his week doing. Like, he spent his week doing math problems with his friends. Yep, that's my kid. I was just like I walked in and I was like, what game you playing, dude? Can I play? And he's like, we're playing math. And I was like, all right, bye. Have a good day. Have fun. Bye, guys. And everybody's like on the chat just like, bye, Miss Coffee. And so, because even his friends, I think a couple of them might be like YouTuber friend kids. But for the most part, most of his friends just call me Miss Coffee. So they're just like, bye, Miss Coffee. And I'm like, bye, guys. And Orion's like, you sure you don't want to play? Bye, Orion. I just slammed the door in his face and kept walking because, look, listen, the one thing I'm not about to do is math. I got enough problems with math. Like, no, I got to balance a checkbook. That's as much math as I'm going to get. Anyways, so then there's Maggie. Little Maggie Pie has not been feeling the best. She's been a little bit under the weather. And again, I think it's just allergies. So we went out and got some allergy meds and she seems just fine. And I was like, all right, bet. The problem is Maggie has these little friends, right? And these little kids like to show up at my house every morning at 9 o'clock. But the way our life is set up, we don't get up till like 10 or 11. So every morning that they were out of school, and I don't know what's up with this kid's parents, because apparently what this kid's parents does, because she's one of those like, you know, I'm a perfect parent. She wakes her kids up at like the crack butt of dawn, gets them up, gets them dressed, gets them fed, and then sends them outside to take on the world. And I'm like, yeah, see the way my life is set up. And I learned a long time ago that I can't sit there and get mad. I can't sit there and get mad at every time, not mad, essentially. I can't make myself feel bad every time a parent does something different than me, because parents parent their children differently. My children are not the type of children that like to get up early. I have very sleepy kids, and they've been very sleepy children since they were born. Like, I've never had to deal with, you know, being sleep deprived when my kids were infants, because they would literally sleep, 15 hours a day. So I never really had to worry about that. And they've always been sleepy kids. I just got really lucky that way. I am aware that I'm lucky, moving right along. So Maggie gets up at like 11:30. Okay, and her friends just would not stop coming to the door. So finally I had to tell them, when she wakes up, I will have her come outside. But until then, please don't ring the doorbell anymore, because you're disturbing the dogs. And they do it mostly because then the dogs start barking and howling. That's one of the few times Killian will howl, is if he sees and hears that doorbell. He'll see people at the door, like if the window blinds are open up front, he'll see people standing at the door. And he will howl and bark when they ring the doorbell. And so the kids think it's funny, so that they'll do that. And I'm like, what you're not understanding is I'm usually back here recording a video to which I then have to stop to get people to stop ringing my freaking doorbell. Hold on a second. All right, sorry about that. So Maggie would get up and she'd be like, Mom, are my friends outside? Of course they're outside. They're always outside. I don't get it. Like, I'm not used to that. And like I said, I stopped feeling bad as a parent a long time ago, because I know all parents parent their children differently. And just because they don't parent like you doesn't make it wrong or right. It just makes it their way. Just like with diamond painting. Just because you do things differently than somebody else doesn't make it wrong or right. It just makes it your way. It makes it easier for you. So like, there used to be a chick, I want to say her name was something Rosen. I can't remember her first name. Sorry if she's watching this. I think she cross stitches now. But Allison Rosen, there you go. Boom, got it. Allison used to, if I remember correctly, she used to cut up her diamond paintings into like chunks and work on them that way. Is it wrong? No, that's how she wanted to work on it. So just like parenting, just because this parent wakes her children up at 8 o'clock every morning and gets them dressed and then sends them outside, doesn't make it wrong. It just makes it highly irritating to those of us parents whose kids actually like to sleep in. But it's no biggie. Plus, during the spring/summertime, my house becomes the popsicle house, okay? And if you don't know what that means, okay, ever since I was little, we always, like, I remember being little, I want to say we lived in Kansas, and my dad would sell icy cups. Y'all remember going to somebody's house in the summer and getting icy cups? And all it was a styrofoam cup with frozen Kool-Aid in it. And it was the best thing ever, okay? My dad used to sell these things for a freaking 25 cents to all the neighborhood kids. I have become that person without paying, like charging the kids for it. Because see what happened was, right? I'm sitting here minding my own crafty business one day, like last year, I want to say. Mr. Coffee comes in with these four ginormous boxes. And I'm like, what's up with the boxes? And he's like, they're popsicles. Now take it. When he comes in with these boxes, it is the kids had just got back to school. So it wasn't quite the end. It was like the end of summer. And it had already snowed once. Okay. And so I'm looking at him like he's crazy. Like, where did you get all these popsicles? And apparently his work boyfriend, who we call Doug, or Diggy Doug, you'll hear me call him Diggy Doug. Diggy Doug gets a subscription to popsicles. Now, tell me why a grown man standing at 6'7", okay, is sitting here chilling with popsicles. I don't know. That's his life. I don't judge him in his life. That's his business. All I know is that he's, for some reason, sent my husband home with 400 of them. Now, look, listen, the way my freezer is set up, it can't hold 400 popsicles and my monthly groceries. So I'm like, some of those popsicles are going to have to sit underneath the cabinet. And he goes, all right. So I am sitting on 400 popsicles right now, on top of the 40 banana popsicles I had already had in the freezer because I like banana popsicles. The problem is, I used to like to chew on ice. Now, I used to chew on ice like it was my job, okay? Every once in a while, I will still chew on ice. And I just noticed this last night. I had a hysterectomy last year. So for those folks who didn't know, 1, hey, I'm Miss Coffee. 2, I had a hysterectomy last year. Back in November, I believe on the 12th of November last year, I had a hysterectomy, okay? I had really bad anemia, and they couldn't figure out, why I would bleed so much or whatnot. And, how can something bleed for that long and not die? So they went ahead and just were like, look, you got some cysts and stuff on your ovaries. Do you want them? And I was like, nah, go ahead and chuck them. So they just, kicked them in the traffic for me. So I don't have like a uterus anymore. So the baby factory is officially completely closed down. Okay. And so I'm sitting there, and the funny thing is, somebody was asking me, like, Miss Coffee, when you had your hysterectomy, did they ask if, your husband was okay with it? And I'm like, no. Last time I checked, this was my body. What did he care what I do with my body? Plus, it's mine. What, you gonna tell me, no, you got to keep the uterus? No, get out of here. Now, I do know that there are some places that make you get your husband's permission. But the way my body and my life is set up, nah, I'm good. I'm good. I'm not asking for permission. He ain't my daddy. Whatever. So I'm like, yeah, no, I didn't have to ask for permission. I just had them, take it out and kick it into traffic. But I'm sitting there, and I after the hysterectomy, I don't chew ice anymore. And I didn't notice it until I went into the freezer yesterday to get some ice for my water. And there was a full tray of ice in there. And I was like the little bucket that holds the ice that pulls it out of the fridge. Because I have one of those fridges. Finally, what's one thing as an adult that you have that you've always wanted, but you never were able to have until like now? Or you maybe had it at some point in time. The one thing I've always wanted as an adult was one of the refrigerators that had ice and water in it. So I didn't have to get water out of the faucet. So I now have one of those. And so I used to take full advantage of it. And I would just sit there and just have my little crushy ice and sit on the couch and mind my business. Well, now that since I've had the hysterectomy, I don't want ice anymore. And I'm like, what is happening? My anemia is gone. Everything's still looking good. The doctor said everything, my iron levels look really good. She still suggests that I take my one-a-day vitamins. But let me tell y'all about these one-a-day vitamins real quick, okay? Because I'm talking to Mr. Coffee, and Mr. Coffee looks at me and he goes, hey, are you going to think anything differently of me if I eat more than one of these gummies? Mr. Coffee's weakness is gummies. I don't know why my husband is a whole ass child, but if I buy the kids gummies, I have to hide them from Mr. Coffee. Why? Because Mr. Coffee will down a box of gummies like they're nothing. Like, he will down a box of gummies like it's nobody's business. Now, I understand liking something, but y'all don't understand. He is like the Cookie Monster for gummies. I don't know what his problem is. Like, he goes into like this frantic mode of having to have gummies. And I'm just like, dude, what is your deal? I mean, I have my snack like that. My snack like that are those little snack-sized chips. But there's only like 6 chips in that bag. And you ever been eating a bag of those snack-sized chips and your mouth wasn't ready to be done, but you're done with the snack-sized chips and you're just like saying a prayer that you have like one more chip to just clear your palate and get it ready for that last chip, for the last hurrah, and you don't have any more chips left. Look, listen, I don't know whose child is eating one of those little kid-sized bags of chips and going, this was enough of a snack for me. But I'm telling you, they're lying, okay? I have a very small I have a very small child, okay? Maggie is about the size of your pinky. And this child will eat like 4 of those bags and be like, can I get another one? No. At this point, you might as well eat a whole bag of chips. Like a family-sized bag. Like, she done ate like a whole 4 bags of like popcorn out of the box. Like, she would, of course, because kids, you know, they always got to eat the good chips out of the box first and leave the crappy chips for the parents. But I got smart. I would start to open a box and take out like 2 or 3 bags of chips for myself and let them eat the rest and be like, oh, when they come to ask me, I'd be like, oh, those chips aren't in there? Maybe they forgot to put them in there. Like, you got to play stupid to your kid so that they don't know that you took them so that you can eat them later. I literally have a bag that sits on the kitchen table. They don't know why it's there or where it came from. It's just a bag sitting there chilling. And I will hide snacks in it. They never go in there, okay? Again, my kids are not very observant. And when they are, they don't care. So, like, I will legit hide my snacks in there. And they won't even be none the wiser. All right. Sorry about that. I had to go to the bathroom. Anyways, so yeah, little chip problems and Mr. Coffee with his gummies. But yeah, so anyways, moving right along, because I don't remember what my mindset was before I paused. This is a problem with pausing, especially when I get sidetracked and I'm like, oh, was I recording? I should probably get back to that. Like, you ever be in the middle of doing something kind of important and you take a break for a second and you come back and you're like, oh snap, I was doing that? Like, I do that with my coffee all the time. I'll make coffee and just let it sit there for like 20 minutes and come back and be like, oh yeah, I was making coffee. Look, listen, this ADD brain is ridiculous. Moving right along. So yeah, so the doctor and everybody says that everything's going great. Like, the anemia, you know, it's not 100% better, but it's getting better over time. And I'm like, all right, what do I do now? And she's like, just try to, you know, make sure you're taking your gummies. That's when Mr. Coffee sparks up the conversation about, hey, are you going to think any differently of me if I eat more than one of these gummies? Now, again, I don't typically buy gummies because I have to hide them from Mr. Coffee. And where the kids aren't as observant, Mr. Coffee isn't observant, but he's a little bit more observant than the kids. So I still have to hide stuff from him every once in a while. The problem is he will go look for it. The kids won't bother to look for it. So I'm like, where are you going? And he's like, well, I want another gummy so bad. He goes, because I bought him, this is the first time I bought him the gummy 1 a day for men instead of like the pills. I will now be buying him the pills because this man come up to me talking about, the bottle says you're supposed to have 2. I'm sorry, what? The bottle said you're supposed to have 2 gummies. Him knowing that I'm lazy and I'm not going to look. I'm like, look, listen, if you want another gummy, just eat another gummy. Like, I'm like, you go to the store how many times a week? Why don't you just buy yourself? He will not buy them for himself. He will wait till I buy them and then want to try to eat them. If he has to get them himself, he will not eat them. I don't know. Is that a guy thing? Like, I'm so confused when it comes to stuff like that. Anyways, we did have one little incident happen this weekend. I made a friend, sort of, kind of. I met someone new in the neighborhood by a series of unfortunate events, or an event. So I'm sitting here making samples this weekend for my Scentsy stuff, right? Just minding my own business, just, you know, in a world of smelly good scents. And I'm just in my own little world of smelly good scents, and I had the back door open, okay? I had the back door open because it was getting warm in the house. Now, with Sprinter, you never know whether it's going to be a warmer day or a cooler day. And yesterday was almost 60 degrees here, and I was loving it. Every second of it. I loved it. I have people walking past my house again. I have men walking by with their tiny shorts doing speed walking. I don't know what that's about, but it's something that happens every year. And it's like the same 3 guys. They don't come together. They all are separate. Like, they all should be friends. They probably don't even know each other, but they all have like their tiny little biker shorts or whatever, and they're just like speed walking past my house. And so I'm like, spring has seriously sprung. And so I opened the back door because I didn't want my samples to get all warm because it was warm in the house. Well, the dogs had just come back in from a walk, and so they wanted to go by the door because, of course, the cross breeze of having that door open felt really good. And the next thing I know, I hear Daisy start to low growl. Now, a low growl usually means somebody is approaching. Now, they could be approaching as in just walking by on the sidewalk, which is usually the case, or they could be approaching like one of the little kids coming up to the window asking, can they pet the dogs, which, you know, I don't have a problem as long as they ask. If they ask, which I told you guys about this in live on Friday, if kids ask to pet my dogs, I don't have a problem. Hey, Daisy, Killian, sit down, let them pet you. But if you just walk up on my dogs, look, listen, we're going to have problems. I'm going to need you to get some respect and ask, can you pet somebody's dogs? Again, folks, make sure your kids know to ask people to pet their dogs and not just letting them pet dogs. Some of these dogs out here, service dogs, and they trying to work and they getting pets and loves from tiny humans that they're not even asking for pets and loves from. Anyway, moving right along. So I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, not thinking anything of it. I tell Daisy to settle down because I'm like, it's probably just somebody walking past the window, which it was. And I was like, whatever. Well, then Daisy take it upon herself to start barking. And again, it's not like I'm on the phone or anything. I just, you know, Daisy, settle down. Like, what are you doing? Like, stop it. So, next thing I know, Killian is like, he's batting at the door for some reason. And I'm like, what are you doing? And I look over my shoulder and happen to notice that there's a dog, like a little dog. And I was like, oh, okay. And it wasn't like a little dog, like one of those like Pomeranian things. No. It was one of those like mixed dogs that's like shin high, and they're not little, but they're not like, I guess they would be considered a medium-sized dog. I see the dog run past or start walking past my house with its owners. Now, its owners had what looked like siding or something in their hand, and I'm like, what? Did they just tear somebody's house apart for that? Like, why are they carrying siding and part of a storm drain? Like, okay. Mind your business, Alicia. It ain't none of your business. So I'm sitting over here minding my own crafty business, just doing my thing. Killian still keeps batting at the door, and I'm like, Killian, stop it. What are you doing? Well, he gets it enough that the bottom of my screen door pops out, okay? Because it's only held in there with that little bit of plastic around the edges. So he was able to pop the screen out, which is what he was trying to do. So then he backs up and yeets himself out my back door, and I'm like, Killian, no! Now, I knew he wasn't going to hurt the other dog. So for those folks that are like, oh my God, he's going to attack the other dog. No. He yeets himself. I turn around and yell, no, Mr. Coffee's in the living room because he had just gotten in from work. He's going, what's going on? I'm like, Killian just ran out the back door. He goes, hold up, what? So he comes running in there. He has on socks. So he slides into the sink and like, you know, hits his on the countertop. And he's like, oh my God. And I'm like, stop sliding in here in socks. Daisy decides that since we're in the middle of some mass pandemonium, that she's just going to like gingerly walk herself out onto the porch and sit there. And Killian, then the lady that was holding the dog, lets go of the leash because she got scared because she didn't know what Killian was doing. Killian then decides that he's going to run and jump and play with this dog and then guide the dog across the street. Because across the street from my house is like a little open field. And it's supposed to be somewhere where they're supposed to be building new houses or something, but they haven't gotten to it yet. So it's just an open field of nothing. Well, Killian decides to take the other dog over there, and they decide to walk themselves. So they're over there just dancing and playing. Meanwhile, Daisy sees the lady in a state of panic. She's like yelling for her dog. Daisy goes up to her and starts nudging her with her nose like, hey, it's okay. Come pet me. Come on. It's okay. Just pet me. The lady's like, oh, you're such a sweet dog. I thought you guys were mean. I was like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. And she's like, it's okay. I'm like, Killian Jones, get back over here. Killian looks at me and he starts like bunny hopping, which is what he loves to do when he's playing. He likes to bunny hop. I have to try to get a video of it one day. But he's like bunny hopping through the weeds and stuff over on the other side of the thing. That lady's dog is following him. And it's running, and they're just having a blast. So Daisy decides that she's going to just get all the lovin's from this lady that she does not know. Daisy does not care where she gets her attention from. As long as she's getting it, that's all that matters to her. And so I'm sitting there mortified because my dog has taken this lady's dog and kidnapped it across the street, and Daisy's too busy getting belly rubs, okay? So I'm like, oh my God, hi, my name is such and such. I am so sorry. They just like playing with other dogs, and I need to get them out to like a doggy daycare or something. She goes, oh no, I thought they were like vicious. And I'm like, no, don't profile dogs. That's not nice. And she's like, oh, she's like, I didn't mean to profile them, but they do kind of look mean. I'm like, we both looked down at Daisy at that moment, and Daisy's sitting there, belly up, tongue hanging out, just, And I'm like, oh yeah, they're real vicious. Yeah, they'll rip your face right off your shoulders. You better watch out. And she's like, well, I guess they're not that vicious. I'm like, no, they're not vicious at all. They're just big babies. And I was like, Killian, can we please come home? And Killian looks at me. He continues to bunny hop. He finally stops, and he's like, looks at the other dog, like telling him, like he's telling him, like, hey, okay, it's time to go home now. So the funny thing is, Killian goes to run back across the street, but he stops right at the edge of the sidewalk. He actually looks both ways, which is something I taught him, and then he runs. Now, the reason he looks both ways, obviously, like a child, they want to look both ways when they cross the street to make sure that they are not going to get hit by a car, okay? So when I was training them, all I did to train them to do that was when we were walking, we would get to the edge of a road, and I would tell them, stop. Once they stopped, I would have a treat in my hand. I'd let them smell it. I'd be like, look this way. Look this way. Is it good? All right, come. And they would stop, and they would look both ways, and then they'd cross the street so that they know, hey, I'm supposed to cross the street whenever I cross the street. That's all it was. Like, I watched way too much Cesar Millan when I had my dogs, when I first bought them. And, yeah, all my training tips come from him. So, like, if you ever wonder how I train my dogs to do half the things that they do, you can thank Cesar Millan for that, because he's the reason why I'm able to train them the way I do. What am I at time-wise? Okay, so I have time for, like, another little bit of a story. So, yeah. So, I met a friend, and we then took the dogs over to the dog park, and we did let them play together for a while. And now, here in about an hour, she already messaged me to let me know that she's going to be out with her dog again so that I can take the doggies over there before I have to go pick up the kids from school. I can't wait, though, because the kids have, I think, 10 more weeks of school before they're done, I want to say. And I'm just like, look, listen, if we can shorten this amount of time with any other vacations that they might have, maybe since they've already had spring break, can they have sprinter break where they take another week off school? I'm sure the teachers would appreciate it. I mean, if you still paid the teachers and gave them that time off, like that could be a thank you for treating you like crap all year, teachers. But here's a free week with pay for the teachers. Like, they're not going to be, like, give them some packets, okay? Just give them some packets, send them home, and we'll all have fun, okay? Like, we'll all have fun. Now, we're trying to figure out what we're going to do this summer because Mr. Coffee wants to travel, but the way his work schedule is set up, we can't do no traveling like that. And I actually thought about going back down to South Carolina this summer, but I don't know what Minna's going to be doing this year. If you didn't know, I do have 3 kids. I don't talk about the third one often because she doesn't live here. That is my daughter, Minna. She is 16, or she'll be 16 this year. Good God. But she lives in Pennsylvania with her dad. No, it's not a bad situation. That's just where she lives with her gram. She wanted to keep her gram company so that she wasn't lonely while she was away. So she decided to go stay with her gram. So she stays with her gram. But I'm not sure what she's doing this summer, if she's deciding to come up or if she's going to try to get a job, because her big thing right now is she needs her license because all of her friends are getting their licenses and she needs a license and she needs a car. And I'm like, look, listen, the way my life is set up, I'm not buying you no car. So, you can work for one, but I'm not buying it. And especially if I buy it, you will be living here with me so I can monitor said car. You're not going to be living with your dad who does not monitor anything that you do. So yeah, no, we're not doing that. So she wants to get a job so that she can buy herself a car. And I'm like, it's not like you're going to get a job and like the next day you're going to have a car. Like, that's not how this works. Like, I don't know if you know about the real world, honey, but that's not how this works. If it did, a lot more people would be a lot happier if you could just get a job and then the next day you magically got a car. So I'm like, it's going to take some time for you to, you know how much a car is? And she's like, I don't need anything fancy. I was looking at this Mercedes. I'm like, Mercedes? You talk about your friend? And she's like, no. I'm like, you must be talking about your friends. She's like, no, there's this Mercedes. I'm like, look, listen, I know you seem to think that you live in the rich life, but again, the way our lives are set up, you see how hard your daddy work? Nah. You see how hard me and Jordan work? Nah. You think you getting a Mercedes? When we both, like, I'm like, your dad drives a minivan, ma'am, okay? And you think you're getting a Mercedes? Your mama drive a Toyota. You getting a Mercedes, though. Your stepdad drive a Dodge Ram truck something. And you think ma'am, you are not getting a Mercedes. No, ma'am, you can change your name to Mercedes, but you ain't getting no Mercedes. And she's like, well, it's a car that looks like a Mercedes. But it's actually like, what did she say it was? It was like a Honda or some crap. And I was just like, nah, see, Hondas, I don't like Hondas. I'm not a fan of Hondas. What's a car that you're not a fan of? Because I'm not a fan of Hondas. I don't know why. I just don't like them. Back when I was little growing up, my dad used to always get calls for people in Hondas having car accidents. And he's like, yeah, these cars are made out of aluminum foil. And ever since then, I was like, yeah, no, I don't, And the sad part about it is, Mr. Coffee's brother, Uncle Jesse, has had, I think, 4 Hondas since we've met him. And he has wrecked he wrecked 3 of them. One of them, there was a huge flooding situation in New York a few years ago. And because he lives in New York, he was flooded out. And his car got flooded. So he lost 4 Hondas. And I was just like, yeah, see, they're, no, thank you. I'm good. But I should probably get out of here now. That's enough time for me today. Thank you guys for coming to visit me today and hear some crazy stories from the coffee house shenanigans. I hope you enjoyed them. So thank you so much for listening. You guys are the best listeners. But with that said, folks, I gotta get out of here. So thank you so much for watching. Again, don't forget to hit that like button if you like this content and you would like to see more. It lets me know that this is something that you do like to see. If you're new to the channel and would like to see more random craziness just like this, please feel free to hit that subscribe button and the bell down there to be notified anytime I randomly decide to put up a video. And believe me, it's random. But with that said, I must now bid you adieu, but not for reminding you to please stay crafty, stay caffeinated, and stay safe. And always try to remember to be kind to others, to be courteous, and to be cool. Bye, guys.